Hey everyone, let's just jump right into today's explainer, where we're going to take today's chaotic global headlines and break them down into a much clearer, structured picture of our world right now. Because let's face it, if you've been following the news lately, you know we're dealing with a massive, almost relentless influx of information coming from literally every corner of the globe. I mean, from military standoffs to extreme weather, it can feel completely overwhelming. But by isolating the key facts and laying them out, we can actually start to understand the broader trends that are shaping our reality today. To make sense of all this, we've organized these events into four distinct themes that we'll be exploring today. One, the geopolitical chessboard. Two, biological and environmental threats. Three, U.S. politics and milestones. And four, culture, oddities, and hope. All right, starting us off, Section 1, the geopolitical chessboard, navigating global conflicts. Just look at this wild 50-hour window. On day one, we saw President Trump announce a major military operation dubbed Project Freedom, aimed at guiding ships right through the Strait of Hormuz. But then, barely 2 days later, that entire operation was just suddenly paused. This kind of standoff severely raises the risk of sliding back into all-out war in the region, and it puts a very, very fragile Gulf ceasefire in serious jeopardy. And what's adding a whole other layer to this geopolitical puzzle is that at the exact same time, China's foreign minister Wang Yi was holding talks with Iran's foreign minister in Beijing, basically calling for the strait to be reopened as soon as possible. It just shows you how incredibly fast global actors have to pivot in modern diplomacy. And this next timeline brilliantly illustrates how quickly things can escalate on the ground, too. We're tracking the events of April 8th, 2026 here. Notice how we shift from a fragile April ceasefire to total, absolute chaos in literally a matter of minutes. At 14:15 in the afternoon, Israeli bombs began falling on Beirut's suburbs. And within just 10 minutes, by 14:25, the bombing raid had brought sweeping devastation to those Lebanese neighborhoods. According to the Israeli prime minister, the strike targeted a senior Hezbollah commander, making it the very first strike to hit the area since the previous ceasefire. 10 minutes. That is literally all it takes to completely alter the landscape of a region. Now, what's really blowing my mind here is the stark contrast between those traditional battles we're used to and the new reality we're seeing unfold right now in Ukraine. We're looking at a hard transition into what can honestly only be described as robot wars. Ukraine's President Zelensky recently reported a massive shift. Actual territory is being captured entirely by robots and drones. No way, right? But it's true. This drastically changes our whole understanding of the battlefield of the near future. We're shifting away from massive troop formations on conventional front lines to this highly calculated, unmanned style of warfare. But hey, while the tactics are becoming increasingly automated, we absolutely cannot forget the human cost behind these headlines. The situation for Ukrainian civilians trapped in the frontline city of Oleshki is just dire. They have been entirely cut off from fresh food and medicine for months now. And if they want to leave, they have to risk traveling what locals are literally calling the road of death. Meanwhile, political agreements just keep fracturing. Russia recently ignored Ukraine's unilateral ceasefire, actually launching an attack on a kindergarten, which is prompting Kyiv to weigh its next response. It's a really sobering reminder of the very real people caught in the crossfire of this geopolitical chessboard. So, having mapped out these high-stakes geopolitical tensions, it naturally leads us to ask a pretty vital question. How do these man-made crises stack up against the unpredictable and often creeping threats coming from our own environment? Which brings us to Section 2, biological and environmental threats, nature's warning signs. Okay, let's talk about the crucial clinical facts behind that recent cruise ship outbreak off the coast of Cape Verde. This emergency was triggered by the Andes strain of hantavirus. And what you really need to know about this specific virus is that it's severe. And uniquely, it's one of the very rare strains that can actually be passed from person to person. That detail is absolutely crucial because it immediately skyrockets the infection risk when you're in a contained, enclosed environment like a cruise ship. And man, this situation became highly stressful and incredibly complex very quickly. British, German, and Dutch nationals had to be urgently medically evacuated. The ship itself was then diverted to the Canary Islands. They were expecting to arrive within 3 days, even though the island's president initially flat out refused them entry. The UK Foreign Office has been working urgently to assist, calling the whole thing deeply stressful. But here's the surreal, modern twist. A well-known YouTuber, Ruhi Chenet, was actually on board. He filmed the ship's intercom announcing to passengers that the virus was quote-unquote not infectious, right after the first death had already occurred. Talk about a perfect storm of a biological threat mixed with real-time information chaos. Zooming out from the microscopic to the truly massive, we just witnessed an Alaskan megatsunami that has officially been recorded as the second largest ever. Number 2. And was driving a wave this enormous? Well, new research points squarely at climate change-induced glacier melt. As these massive glaciers melt at rapid speeds, the risk of these giant, catastrophic waves just increases exponentially. And the thing is, we're seeing this kind of environmental instability pop up all over the world. Take this sudden event in Indonesia on May 4th. Raging floodwaters, which were triggered by unexpectedly heavy rains, completely washed away a glamping facility in Bogor, West Java. I mean, the torrent simply swept the whole thing away. These are nature's warning signs, and they're showing up not just as data points on a chart, but as immediate physical destruction to human infrastructure. So as we digest all these massive global threats, from the Strait of Hormuz to melting Alaskan glaciers, we really have to wonder, how is domestic society and just everyday human experiences being reshaped in the background? That brings us to Section 3, U.S. Politics and Milestones, Shifts and Tragedies. Looking closely at the domestic front, the political landscape is definitely evolving. Vivek Ramaswamy, a staunch ally of President Trump, emerged victorious, securing the Republican nomination for Ohio governor in a really closely watched Midwest primary. But simultaneously, the media world is mourning an absolute titan today. Ted Turner, the mogul who practically invented our modern 24-hour news culture when he launched CNN way back in 1980, has passed away at the age of 87. And grounding us back into the tragic realities of local news, police reported a devastating shooting at a lake party in Edmond, Oklahoma, leaving one person dead and 22 others injured. We also have to pause for a moment to reflect on a deeply solemn milestone in the justice system. A former FedEx delivery driver has been sentenced to death for the 2022 kidnapping and murder of 7-year-old Athena Strand. During those proceedings, Athena's uncle addressed the court, and his words were just incredibly heartbreaking. He stated that the loss took a piece of every single person who loved her. It's a stark, powerful reminder of the profound, lasting grief that ripples out from these horrific local headlines. All right, after absorbing those heavy domestic milestones, we are going to pivot to a completely different side of the human experience. And I've got a pretty surprising question for you. What do a North Korean leader's outfits and a French academic's fake prize actually have in common? Welcome to Section 4, Culture, Oddities, and Hope, the Human Experience. Believe it or not, these three seemingly completely unrelated events all highlight the really strange ways we humans construct status, narrative, and art. First up, in North Korea, analysts are closely watching what they're calling fashion succession. The evolving outfits of Kim Joo-ae are being interpreted as calculated signals that she's actively being groomed as the nation's next leader. Then, jumping over to France, we have an incredible case of pure academic vanity. An academic is currently under investigation and suspended for literally dreaming up a fake prize just so he could award it to himself. I mean, you can't make this up. Finally, in New York, the 2026 Met Gala is tackling status through high fashion with its theme costume art, pushing the boundaries of fashion as an embodied art form. Status, power, image, humans are just obsessed with it, whether it's through careful diplomacy, blatant fraud, or high art. But hey, amidst all the global complexities, the intense political posturing, and those weird cultural oddities, there are these pure, totally unscripted moments of hope that still manage to break through the news cycle. Just take a look at this story. Meet Bumpy. She is a tiny, orphaned baby hippo who was found clinging to her lifeless mother at a lake. Now, keepers at a sanctuary in Kenya have stepped in and are lovingly hand-rearing her to make sure she survives. It's just a small, beautiful act of compassion that reminds us of the good stuff quietly happening out there in the world. As we wrap up this explainer today, I really want to leave you with this one thought to carry with you. In a world that is clearly moving at a breakneck pace, a world where geopolitical chess pieces move in 10-minute bombing runs, where giant waves are born from melting ice, and where politics literally never sleep, how are you going to choose to balance the sheer weight of the daily news with these vital sparks of resilience and hope? Think about it. Thank you so much for exploring these headlines with me today. Keep asking those tough questions, keep looking for the underlying structure, and I'll catch you next time.